So, I think the first time we met was actually on Top Chef, season 2.
The good days in Los Angeles.
Right, in Los Angeles. And then, Debbie, I think we did something together again at the Mondrian for some kind of luncheon when I was at Imperial No. 9. We came in, we shot down in the kitchen. So we're kind of old friends.
There you go.
Nice to see you
Exactly.
here. Do you live here?
I do. I live in Brooklyn. I live in Williamsburg, and you guys are in...
Oh, you're a hipster?
Where's the beard?
I know. I've been there for maybe. I'm an older version of a hipster. I've been there since 2003 or 4.
Okay.
So,
You liking it?
Williamsburg?
Yeah.
I love it. It's there's no difference now. It might as well be Soho. Williamsburg there's such an influx of restaurants and.
Did you get yourself a motorcycle? Williamsburg is no strollers.
You're going to embarrass me a little bit. I have a Vespa at the moment.
Absolutely fine.
I like that. That's cool.
And I'm
She likes
great.
that.
He throws the Vespa shot.
I just shot a series in Williamsburg, except now they're going to knock down the building and build high rises on the water, which is kind of sad.
So you were down on the south side by the Domino.
Kent.
On
Yeah.
Domino Sugar
Riverfront
Factory.
Studios.
Oh, sure, like Kent and South 4th. I live on South 4th.
Yeah, I don't
that's
know.
over
I just
there,
know how to
so-
get there.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
She
This
just
is gonna
gets
be fun.
there.
So we're talking about Extra Virgin and the show, and it's doing great things. I'm a huge fan. I watched some episodes and kind of got refreshed last night. And what you guys are doing, it's great. Really bringing family and traditional cooking back into the home, into the spotlight. And your girls are, they're a huge part of the show, and it's really cool to watch that unfold.
Growing on camera, it's kind of weird. I didn't plan for it to be like reality, like in terms of people go, oh, that's a family show. And I'm thinking, no, it's a cooking show. But
It's stuck. People like it. I think it gives a sense of a reality in the good sense of it. We are a family where food and what we do is really always tailored to our life in the house. It
there's
really
no
represents
reality,
us.
though. I mean, it's very much planned. We plan it, and if there's any meltdown situation, it doesn't
Camera
go on
goes off.
camera.
Sure, it's like, where are the eggs? I can't find the eggs.
No. It's very. I mean, what happened was my husband was always a really good cook. Sorry, this is on delay, so it's kind of weird. And when I was pregnant in LA, someone gave us a camera, and I said, you know what, you're so handsome when you look hot in front of the stove. Let me just film you, and let's be on the camera together.
He's like, yeah, I've heard
And being
that.
an actress and somebody who likes to write, and I'm also directorial, like I'm very pushy.
You're pushy.
Yeah, I said, okay,
Never-
stand in
never
the corner.
realized that, yeah.
And we got the camera, and we were like making some pasta, buying ingredients, and like, hi, welcome back to Under the Tuscan Gun. Today, we're gonna make blah, blah, blah. And we would cook something, drink wine, get a
And
little
it
bit
was fun,
stoned.
bottle of wine, the remote control, the camera
Yeah.
on a tripod, and no script, just
Or
the
we'd
food
say like,
on
hey,
the table.
come for lunch, and help us, film. And it took 2 hours. A year or two later, we had amassed, 50,
About 50, 60 videos, yeah.
or maybe how many years was it?
Amazing.
That's
We
almost
did
a
it for-
decade.
Oh yeah, we did it for a long time, and that's when the cooking channel said, "Hey, we're starting this new channel. Would you guys like to do your own show and do what you're doing on your blog?"
And we got the kids to work.
Of course.
So we kind of bribed the kids, You say like,
Well, it's like, we moved to New York. If you want to start, setting some money for college, get to
Definitely,
work.
that's what you're gonna do.
Come
Come
to
on,
work
we're
with
gonna go.
us.
They want the money now. The money's protected in an
absolutely.
account. They can't get to the 18, but it's incentive. I have one kid, Julia, the younger one, who loves to cook.
Sure.
Like I was shooting a movie, and I came home. She was 3 years old, and she had like an 8-inch,
Chef's
blade,
knife.
a chef's knife in her hand. I said, what are you doing? Oh my God. And he said, no. I've been teaching her how to use it
That's
correctly. And I'm thinking, like, this is so not cool. She's standing on a chair. All she has to do is fall off the chair, and she's going to stab herself and die.
She's still around, though.
And now she's, like,
We're lucky.
shopping and helping
Nothing major
him.
has happened
She's still
so
here.
far.
She's still cooking. She's on TV cooking.
No, she's both.
Yeah, of course. So, and then you guys, you both like to say that you're not chefs, that you love to
He's
eat.
a chef.
You are
He's
a
a
chef.
chef.
I was going to say, you are a chef.
I mean,
you know?
do you have to go to Sorbonne to be a chef?
Well, you know-
right. I mean, I didn't graduate from culinary school. I'm a chef.
But me neither.
I'm not a chef.
But the thing is that I arrived in the States, and I grew up in a farm. So I grew up with my mom, my grandmother,
Florence,
all
right?
the wives of the farmers, and whatever I learned in the kitchen, which is what most of men do in Italy, meaning cooking for themselves or for girlfriends or for their families. I realized when I arrived in the US that it was somewhat of an asset. It was a little better than other people that were cooking in the environment that we were in. And when we started the web series, my approach was very relaxed.
Sure.
And now it's very obsessive. So I have my books, and I cook, and I care of my knives, and I develop recipes, and to a degree it has become a job. I like cook better than chef just because the experience of our food, I think it goes along with the story. So when I'm not able to tell the story of the food that I'm cooking for you, then I feel it becomes just a chef, somebody that cooks for you, and that's it. And that is always something that I don't want to miss. I cook and I serve the food with the hope to be able to sit down and share a glass of wine and tell you, or at least do that in an environment where the intimacy allows for that kind of conversation.
Meanwhile, I used to be like a size 2, and after being married to my chef husband, I'm now larger.
It's the power of pasta, baby.
Yeah, the power of pasta. I love that.
More to love.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think
I'm a
of him as
biker. I
chef.
like
You grew up
curves.
too cooking, right?
Yeah, I mean, my mother had me at 15, so she was a horrible cook. And I would be like, Mom, going over to Rosie's house. Mom, going up to Jimmy's house. Like, I always wanted to eat someplace else because my mother at 15 couldn't cook, so my grandma, would help out there. But then when we got our own apartment, like, she was trying to be a hippie and would make weird stuff like sukiyaki and things that were really unedible. And
Sukiyaki.
I was game to try it, but it wasn't good. So I would go to everyone's house, and like everybody's grandmother or mother had a story. It was Puerto Rican, Black, Chinese, Irish, whatever. And I would fall for the story and get like great recipes and help them in the kitchen. And I've traveled a lot in my life, so I always like to pull recipes and try stuff. So I'm a host. I like to have parties. I like to entertain and to feed people. I love to collect dishes, and I go to flea markets. I like to set a table and get everybody like lubricated, with good wine, cocktails.
I agree.
And I'm curious. I experiment. I'm not saying that all my food comes out great. I mean, I'll make Cuban food one night, and
Of course, you have fun with it.
I have fun with it.
Yeah.
He's really serious, and his stuff looks gourmet. Mine can be hit or miss, but I feed my family. It tastes pretty good.
Does Gabrielle put the chef face on in the kitchen? People tell me that when I'm cooking my
Mm-hmm.
home kitchen, that I put the chef face on, and it kind of like takes
He
the
does.
fun out of it for them because I look so intense, and I'm like, do you do that?
People are just basically go, oh God, we're gonna come. If you're gonna come to our house, like I hope you're gonna be happy. I'm like, as long as he doesn't have to cook.
As long as you don't bother him, let him be. Give him a few glasses of wine, and it'll be good.
Listen, I'm absolutely fine. The only thing that I'm very territorial is about counter space. This is Brooklyn, man.
I'm with you. And
I
in
have a
New York,
fucking thing
counter
like
space.
this,
We don't have counter
and
space.
just don't come and push me.
Right.
Or, But again, food is aimed to bring people together. I am never really. I'm really not territorial that way. As long as it's a party, as long as we're having fun, it's fine. But I do like being in the kitchen by myself. It is my therapy. Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
I mean, the show
Meaning
is
that
all.
I do appreciate when other people are helping me, and I don't mind making a mess in the kitchen with more cooks.
'cause
but
I get
I
to
also like
clean
being
it
by
up.
myself. And yes,
Okay.
It's good when the cleanup crew comes in after the first course is served, and then in comes, of course.
Well,
So,
I'm his sous chef, and I'm also I'm the dishwashing lady.
right.
there you go.
But I'm
Sometimes
gonna
people-
remember that when you say that tonight when you're cooking. I'll be like, no, I'm not coming in the kitchen.
No, I'll be doing the dishes.
Good.
Yeah.
So, there's obviously a lot of terms being thrown, in today with food, like the, foodie as one, foodie craze. But the show, you guys kind of just touched base on that. It seems very natural. Like what you're cooking on your show is probably what you're eating for dinner. Like we're capturing a lot of your family time on the show, and it's not really a far cry what you're cooking on the show compared to what you might be eating at night.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't cooked cachuco very often, which is like, you gotta explain what that is.
There are some dishes that are more complicated that really don't fit the family lifestyle on a school night. And sometimes those are featured on the show and presented in a way that is a little bit more casual than it actually is. But all the things that you see on the show is all stuff that is regularly on our table.
I saw an episode last night, and your daughter, I think it was your eldest daughter?
That's my youngest.
Okay, was making it was a spaghetti egg frittata. Yeah, I'm gonna steal that. That was amazing. Have you guys seen that episode? They do a frittata when they I guess the night before, Gabrielle, you should tell them, but he made some pasta with garlic oil and salt, and then they came in, Debbie and her daughter, Julia, they chopped it up and made a...
Well, I grew up in a farm, and now we do have a family. And one of our philosophies is always try to reduce the loss of food or tossing food away or recycling leftovers. Always be aware of what's going on in your fridge. And my grandmother, since I was a kid, taught me that one of the best ways to recycle almost everything you have in your fridge is to mix it up with eggs.
Yeah, I agree.
And make a frittata.
Or soup.
Or
soup.
His
Yeah,
mother's
just
like-
blend
Eggs, the
everything
next
together.
day, after Thanksgiving, the next day, you throw the turkey into an egg dish, and it's true, your grandmother's.
And it works. And the spaghetti frittata is more of a southern thing, but it works really well because it's sliced and it's crispy.
and
And you know
my
what?
little
We
kid
never
loved
ate
it.
that in the. How many years have we been married? 13,
10,
14?
yeah.
I never ate that before the show.
It was beautiful, and I was eating Chinese food while I was watching the show, and I would have eaten
Hoping
that.
for
Yeah, it was
frittata.
just completely different. I was like, oh my god, I wish I was eating that. It was beautiful.
You know, also, one thing that we like to share is like, the simplicity of what, Tuscan Italian food is, but also to share the history of where things come from. For instance, and I'll let you elaborate on it, but like, the hunter would carry, the anchovies because it gave salt, and they wouldn't be refrigeration, or the shepherd would have the pecorino,
The guanciale.
the guanciale on his
Guanciale?
belt. Yeah. To be able to use it. Tell the story. You tell it better than me. But
Well,
yeah.
I think what she wants to say is that we always try not only to talk about the food, but also talk about the way that those ingredients get to you.
Sure.
And why those ingredients became either as famous or popular or sometimes trendy, because, these days between what's happening to the food industry and the food world,
course.
mixing with the entertainment and social media, I would say that the general public is exposed to ingredients that 5 years ago nobody talked about. Starting from, people that are curing their meats or doing cheese at home or doing yogurts at home, which is, fantastic, but I find it great to be able to share, if I'm using guanciale, which is the cured pig jowl, why I use it, where does it come from, and what farmers used to make out of it.
And another thing is that he takes a lot of it, his history and his DNA, for granted. Now, me being a New Yorker and like discovering his life, his family, the villa, the Etruscan story, the Renaissance, the Medicis, the buildings, looking up and seeing all these incredible things, and like going into people's homes and touching books from the 12th century. I'm so fascinated by it all, and to a degree, I feel like I'm exploiting him a little bit. Because I'm Latvian, and no one gives a shit about Latvian food. When was the last time you went to a Latvian restaurant? You know what I mean? No disgrace to my relatives, may they rest in peace, but I don't think I ever had Latvian food from Riga. So
I don't think I have
Pierogies,
either.
potatoes.
There's always a food gap. There's your
Sour
answer
cream.
right there.
yeah, and I love history. I read history books. I'm just fascinated on, what they did when they were sick. How would they take care of themselves? How would they make love? What kind of products did they use? I mean, they would take like fried worms to get rid of gray roots, or different things to get rid of syphilis. And,
Sure.
I just find it all fascinating.
I don't know
The
what I'm talking
syphilis
about.
card right into the food discussion. I love
Hey,
it.
food is amazing
Mother
that way.
Nature
You never
offers
know.
us a lot of great
You are what you eat.
things.
Yeah.
I don't need to we don't need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, everything's
course.
been done and done and
Oh, no,
done
and
done.
in truth, this works so well in the show because very often I start
You're jaded.
delivering and I take my ingredients for granted, and she's the one who's like, so what is that? Tell me about that. And she's really able to create a conversation around what we're putting on the table, and that helps me a lot because, again, we started doing it at home for the web, but I've never done this before.
And and that's awesome, right? That you guys are touching base on that, because a lot of us think that, or at least children in our generation, they think that bacon comes from a plastic package, and like what is it? And now you're also talking about other ingredients like subbing out guanciale, which
I give you an
jowl
example. We use guanciale and we use lard and
Sure.
some products that are sometimes hard to find here in the States. But the other night I went for a birthday party at Daniel Boulud Bar and Grill.
At where?
Daniel Boulud
Sure.
Bar and Grill, and the host of the party had reserved a room, and they ordered 2 piglets, 2 hogs, very small. I had it before, but nobody ever served me on a plate. I had
I think I saw
open-
those pictures on your Instagram.
Disgusting.
You have no idea the kind of messages that I started getting because I posted that picture. And for me, it was just mere interest. It's not that I ordered half pig brain. You know what I mean? It's like, but they served it, and I
said
figured,
your favorite part was the eye, right?
yeah, yes. It was actually...
He doesn't want anything to get thrown out.
No,
Of course, it's the way-
but what I'm saying is that it fits into that. It's like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do with all this? Trash it? Or what do you think is in hot dogs?
Well, good news, I didn't have to kiss you that night.
No,
I was in
she was in
California
LA.
that
Yeah,
weekend.
nobody kissed me that
after
night.
eating pig
I kissed that
eyes.
snot.
It's like some voodoo shit, man. I'm so sorry.
No, but in general, it happens that people have this disconnection with food that is even involuntary. They just buy the bacon in the package, they make it. They don't think how it was raised, the pig, where it comes from, what happens to the rest of the pig. Like, do you think that a pig is like a rack of ribs
Of course.
without legs, with a belly
Right.
and a back?
In the bodega, they have the hoofs.
Yeah.
They have, we do eat that
And it's
stuff
also
here.
culture. There are cultures in which
Just the
that kind
exactly
of stuff
culture
is
is too.
absolutely
Like
normal.
tone.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, on that note, you just touched based on this too, the social media must be playing a huge role into the show, and obviously when you're talking about using guanciale, instead of maybe using a regular cut of bacon or braised pork belly or something, is social media, are you
Well,
guys?
I don't do Facebook. I only do Instagram because I love it.
Sure.
But I would have to push that question to him because our show was born on social media.
Right.
And now our audience is in TV because unfortunately Cooking Channel and Food Network, they don't air on the internet.
This
Like,
year,
they're not
actually,
on
they've been posting
Hulu
episodes.
or-
Yeah.
they are?
The
I don't-
You Live portal is up. Some of our seasons are available. When we started filming ourselves, YouTube was a 3-month, 4-month-old project, and we were like, wow, we can put videos for free. And then eventually, a few sharing buttons came for your blogs, and we started using those, and then Facebook and Twitter and everything. Besides the luxury that gives us to be able to pump our content daily, I think that is wonderful the way that also that channel is open our way, the way that we can connect with our users, the way that we can respond on a whim with a one line about whatever question it might be, about a pecorino or about guanciale or about substitutions. I like it also because it allows you to have a conversation that is not too long with your fans. It's not like responding emails. So it's kind of like, bam, bam,
Quick
bam.
to the point.
I like it. I'm having a lot of fun.
It's good. I
It
mean,
is.
I have a blast. When you're a chef and you're cooking or whatever your platform is, it's kind of Instagram is that instant gratification. You can put up what you created and see what.
It also shows you what resonates with people. If you really do the exercise of looking at your numbers and posting the right way,
I don't look at any of that stuff.
it really shows you what people respond to.
And what they respond to and how they take to it. And you put up one photo and it has 12 likes. You put up another, and you start to catch
absolutely.
on. There's science to it.
I put a bruschetta mushroom and I get 3,000 hits. I put a pork butt and I get 20,000 hits.
Yeah.
So pig sells better than bread. Number one. And you keep on
I
doing
put up a
all that.
picture of us smoking a cigarette from our kids' school gala, 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
It's probably your most
and
liked
that got
photo.
my most hits.
Yeah.
I mean, also people going like, don't smoke. I'm thinking, it's an old picture, but whatever.
Right. So you're like, whatever. It was 10 years ago. So Debbie, you moved the family back to New York. So what's it like, being back in New York in the roots? You have your 2 girls and your wonderful husband here. What's it like being back in New York?
Well, I moved back because I did 20 years in LA. 12 of those years I kept an apartment here. So I was truly bi-coastal. But it got to a point where we had to move. We had sold our home, and we had rented another one thinking, do we stay? Do we go? Do we go to Tuscany? What do we do? And I thought I want to have my kids be in a walking culture to see more of what mom's background is, because everything is focused on Italy, Italy, Italy. We go to Tuscany all the time. It's all about his life. And I'm like, you know what? I want my daughters to have eyes in the back of their head. Take the subway.
She gave me the
and to
shake.
really be able to go to the museum or to a show or to be around culture and to actually be around to see how real people live, like Jacob Reese, how the other half lived. I grew up loving New York history, and I wanted them to understand like where the relatives came through Ellis Island, what was like true poverty, what was it like to live in tenements, the real history. And my daughter, who's now 12, is taking a city bus to go to public school.
Wow.
And it's kind of like, all right, bye. And it kills me, but at a certain point, all of us are old enough to know that, once you hit your teenage years, you don't really want your parents. It's like, okay, bye, see ya. And I wanted to give her a good sense of life. So I hope I didn't make a mistake. But in moving back to New York, the only thing that really disappointed me is the fact that it's so damn expensive.
Yeah.
And how Brooklyn now is a destination point, so that like I'm walking around and I'm like, oh man, you like live like near Windsor Terrace, Park Slope, like you must be doing really well. And I'm like, well, it's just weird because,
Yeah.
you know, like I want space.
It's
and
like I was here 20 years ago before I moved to LA.
30
Yeah,
years ago.
exactly.
I mean, when I lived in
That many
Brooklyn
years?
back in the day, yeah.
Did you live in Park Slope back?
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, my block had like junkies, and you didn't go past Fifth Avenue.
Of course.
You know, Gowanus, God forbid. Red Hook, like, was like a no-no. And no one wanted to go to Williamsburg.
Well, in 10 years
Bed-Stuy,
ago,
do or
Williamsburg was still, I
die.
mean,
Huh?
you know, in 2003, I had a restaurant in Williamsburg on North 7th and Wythe. And
Wow.
And I was picking up, you know, there was syringes still in the street corner from in the
Incredible.
morning. Oh, yeah, it was Williamsburg 10, 12
I'm
years
going
ago.
back, like, you know, 81.
Sure.
You know, that far back. And I only wish I
Me and
would've
you were
bought-
still on
I should have
tricycles.
bought
What's
back
that?
then.
Me and you were still on tricycles.
You weren't even born.
I didn't say anything.
What year were you born?
What year was I
Yeah.
born? I was born in 77.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm 37.
So you were on a tricycle, I was on a bicycle.
Right,
and she was
exactly.
like, you know,
I was on a
She was
Vespa.
smoking cigarettes.
on a Vespa.
I smoke cigarettes, yes. Well, you know, I just love that I have had that New York history. It's wonderful. The New York in the 80s was
Listen, in all
really
honesty,
incredible.
having grown in a farm with the space around me, I did appreciate Los Angeles for what it had to offer. But I have to say, I see my daughters growing and going to school with the son of the butcher and the daughter of the cop. And it's much better than having a 10-year-old that comes home and is like, why don't we have a screening room? Because Don Johnson's kids have a screening room at home.
It wasn't Don Johnson.
But
that was John
whatever, but
Wells.
that was the spirit. That was the input that my daughters would get at a private school in Los Angeles. And here, you know, they get out and it's
Yeah,
life.
We didn't
It's
like
real
the car
life. It's
culture.
real people.
Yeah, because even a play date, it's like if you want to do anything, meanwhile, it's like, okay, I got to drive my kid from point A to point B. It's
Sure.
like you can't just focus on the work unless you have somebody driving your kids around, which we didn't want either.
Mommy, how come we don't have a driver? Oh, right, Daddy's here.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that I moved them here because we're that much closer to Italy or anywhere we want to go. Miami,
Of course.
Puerto Rico, Paris, you know.
Definitely. It's quick.
I like people here much better.
What's that?
I like people in New York much
Definitely.
better.
Come on,
It's
LA
a
people are
greediness.
cool.
Well, no. LA people are cool, but there's just so much smiling and hugging all the time that me coming from a farm, I was very naive. Like, I thought everybody loved me.
Yeah.
Because everybody's awesome and hug me and let's do it. Here, people look at you, and if it's not, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't need it. And you move on.
Yeah, sure.
And life is so much easier. In LA, it was like, Debbie, I met this person. And that was it. Like,
Yeah.
that's the LA spirit, which I can deal now. But in the very beginning, I was like, everybody was my new best friend.
Sure.
And then it was like, well, your wife is an Entourage, right? And like, can you tell her if there's a script I can look at? And I was like, bitch, like I thought that, no.
Are we allowed to curse? Oh, thanks. Okay, good.
It's the web, baby.
Well, shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do appreciate that my daughters are growing up in an environment where if they rub somebody the wrong way, they're told. You know, it's...
And plus, we can like be anonymous here. I mean, I take the subway every day. People like recognize me, but they're like, oh, "I like the show" or whatever. Hi, how you doing? But it's like it ends there.
Yep.
Like in
LA,
LA,
it's a little more talky,
you're at the
yeah.
grocery store, and then you see people like shooting a picture of. You don't even see them. You see like you're at the doctor's office, and it's like, oh, they pump gas too. Like, really? Like, you know.
Like celebrities, they pee
Yeah,
like us.
yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I get it.
With that said, I like LA. I was just there this weekend, and the palm trees, and you know the Chateau Marmont and Sunset
beautiful.
Boulevard. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. And then
Yeah.
like to skip out of town now to go to LA, we're all probably wishing that we had a little bit of that right now.
It rained. It rained. For 2 days in a row. I was there for 3 days. So.
Oh,
I
It's
didn't
the
get
only
the warm
3 days
weather.
of the year. You probably got it.
Well, listen, this has been awesome. It was really great talking with you guys. You're both lovely. And I just wanted to open up to the floor if we had any questions from the audience. Any? Oh.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Hi.
So I know you guys were guest judges on Sam's season of Top Chef. Can you give us a real critique of his food?
I can't remember because I had to eat so many weird things.
And I had a really greasy ponytail at the time, so that probably threw you
Wait,
off a little bit.
I don't remember the food,
I
honestly.
did Top Chef in New York.
But you filmed with me
Oh, wait.
on
Yeah, no,
Oh,
we
is
did
that
LA, that
Bravo?
dinner with
Wait, is that
Catherine
Bravo
Arducci.
Top
Yeah.
Chef? Okay, I get
Yeah,
them all mixed
Bravo.
up.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and who were you with? Who was on the show?
No, that was
I was-
the
Marcel was
was
on
the
that
house,
show. Alon
yeah.
was on that show. They love my food the best. They just don't remember it.
I
right
just
now.
don't remember. Yeah.
It was like a while back.
I remember
But then if you-
actually that was the very beginning of food competition and reality in TV, and what I remember was the sense of urgency, of frustration and fear that all of you guys had. I mean, I don't remember you specifically, but
Sure.
I remember
The ponytail's really ugly,
everybody
so I
very
get it.
very focused. I was like, come on guys, lighten up, it's just a dinner. But for them it was a competition, so that was weird to see. It was interesting.
Well, I think food is so subjective. I don't understand competitions because, I might like something and he might not.
Well, I was going to say too. That's what I really love about their show is that there's so much competition. I just feel like when we think of food now, it's like you're just moving. You're in Top Chef and you're in this mode, or that kind of like cooking competition. And it's really good as a chef to be able to turn on the TV and not have to watch that and just come across something like this where they're cooking with their girls and it's like, cooking therapeutic. It makes sense again without having that like. Go,
I guess somebody likes those competition shows because that's all that seemed to exist.
Well, probably, yeah. The population. I'm a chef, so for me, it's like
coming
gives me
home and
anxiety.
watching more
When
of
I was
what you've
watching
done
you
all
guys,
day
I
long.
was chilling. I was like, all
they
right,
asked
I
me
can
to
cook
do
with this.
chop, but he did it. But I can't make cow's tongue and jelly beans into something
what?
interesting. Like cow tongue and jelly beans. Like I don't know how to do that.
With the vending machine, and I think I did like. I don't even know. It was like egg salad, but I called it spicy potato chips, but it was like crushed up Doritos. So, I hear you. Yeah. But they love my food the best. To answer your question.
So I loved his food the best.
Is this on? I'm kind of just dying to know if it's date night in New York, where are you guys going out to dinner?
Good question.
Well, we went to Talde recently.
Well, first of all, we have kids, so date night.
I'm always busting
There's
his
date
balls. 'Cause
lunch
I'm like, can we go
that
out?
starts in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, we usually go to
Kids are in
Bar Pizzi
school.
for
We go out
date
for
lunch.
lunch. That's our date, and then life goes back to normal.
No, we get stressed out in our marriage because we don't have a babysitter that's regular, and we don't have date night, and but we do we went to Talde,
But
which
we're
is our
managing,
neighborhood. Yeah.
clearly. We have Talde, Bar Pizzi is our Italian favorite.
Antica Pesa over by you is
Williamsburg.
nice.
It's nice.
What's the gentleman's name? Frank.
I forgot.
Francesco. What's his name?
Francesco.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Really
like him.
nice, but the thing was, I went on my wedding anniversary. We'd never been there, and
Sure.
Ciao, Gabriele, and
They have
spoke
the
in
same
Italian.
energy, Francesco and Gary. They're like,
And
I
they
like
sent
it.
out food, and I'm like, I didn't want this. I had carbonara for lunch. Like I wanted to pick out my
happens.
own food.
That happens, and it's really it's strange to tell people no. I'm so sorry.
And I wanted to be on a date with you. It's like it's
Right.
really hard to be on a date when they're up
Sometimes
in
you
his
get
face,
recognized,
they're
it's
rubbing
like,
his
oh, okay.
shoulder. I'm like, get your hands off my man. What is this? I want to eat dinner with him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. It's a very.
The Dutch for oysters and some fish and a glass of good beer.
Yeah.
What else?
We vowed to go someplace that we just haven't made it to. Where would we want to go?
Probably.
So I wanted to tell you guys though, too. This isn't necessarily a question, but I'm opening a property in Maine on May 1st. It's called the Pig. The hotel is called the Whitehall.
Oh, that's fantastic.
36 room.
Congrats.
boutique
Congratulations.
hotel in Camden, Maine.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. And the restaurant's called Pig and Poet.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I'd love to have you guys up and your girls up for the weekend. We come and cook, maybe shoot an episode there. But at least everything.
It'd be fantastic.
Maine,
You'll
that's
be in
cool.
my house. I'll be cooking for you. You guys can take a break.
Oh,
Is that
that'd
where
be
you live?
Super cool.
I live in Williamsburg, but I'm gonna have an outpost in Maine.
Wasn't
Great.
it my crush show in Maine? I had a thing when I was a kid for Angela Lansbury.
Oh, sure.
Right? Like,
That's
you know.
what you went for an older
Well,
woman?
no. Well, yeah, probably. I have
Do I
this
look
thing
like
for older
Angela
women.
Lansbury?
No, I have this thing with that the sheriff never had the balls to propose. I was like, come on, man. But I thought that she lived in a fantastic place, and I always wanted to to see
You
it.
lived in Maine?
I think that was Maine,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Cape
it's-
Cod.
I'm
Isn't it
driving
Maine?
there after that. We're actually getting in the car. We're headed up there. It's 6 hours away. So you guys, close.
Let's
I'm
diss the
there,
kids,
absolutely.
or grab the kids and go.
Yeah.
I've been talking about taking him up to Cape Cod and giving him that whole East Coast thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I have memories.
Northeast.
You
We've
can
done
drive the
it.
car. I'll take the motorcycle.
It's beautiful up there. Great, good oceans.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah,
For one more question.
great.
Hi. I was wondering, what food could you not live without?
Oh, well, I can't live without my amatriciana sauce. That's one. I can't live without Parmigiano cheese. I love it. Extra virgin olive oil.
That's more than one.
Well, one, right. Sorry. I guess amatriciana. Eggplant parm.
I cannot sit at the table if I don't have a slice of my bread. I bake my own bread every other day. And that's something that started in LA. There is good bread here in New York, but in LA, it's a fucking drama. So it's just like crazy. And people blame the water. It's like, no, learn to fucking bake. Like, it's not about the water.
I'm kind of with you.
But it's really hard for me to sit down and not have my little basket of homemade bread. And meat, obviously. I'm a big carnivore, and I need meat. A few times a week.
So you guys don't think it's the water? And like that's what they always said, like, oh, you can't get pizza. I've actually had good pizza in LA.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Mozza's great pizza.
Most great,
absolutely.
fantastic.
I never really bought into that. I thought that it was about the skill level. And
The world is
Until
not that
most it
small
happened,
anymore.
though,
That's the other
yeah.
thing. The
What's
world is not that small anymore. You want good flour, you get your phone, you order damn good flour.
You can
Amazon.
get it on Amazon.
Yeah,
I was gonna
it's
say,
not
like,
it's not that hard to source ingredients.
It's not.
So
And really good ingredients, organic
Yeah.
ingredients that make sense. You can Amazon, whatever it is.
I know exactly.
Is that it?
Was that? Thank you, AOL.
Quiet.
Thank you, AOL, for
Yeah.
having us. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
That was great. Thank
Thank
you guys.
you.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
You guys are great. Best of luck with everything.